You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
So what you gonna do?
Let me talk to you, dummies.
Oh, yeah.
You're where it's at.
If you're smart like me, you gotta listen.
And if you don't listen to it,
I'll come out of your computer and body slam your ass.
Don't be a Melvin.
I will scar you.
open your third eye.
Woo! It's gonna be cool.
Oh, what a rush.
It's showtime!
We had a lovely conversation.
To the interactive interview. Interactive wrestling radio.
The Epicenter.
Second edition of the Impact Wrestling Media Teleconference. This is Ross Foreman. We will get to our special guest momentarily, but first a couple housekeeping notes here. The Impact Wrestling Media Teleconference live stream is presented by Pluto TV. Watch over 100 channels of movies, news, sports, and more completely free on any streaming device. Download the app today. Pluto TV is free TV. Big Slammiversary announcement, as you might have seen, .com has had it, social media has had it. Slammiversary Sunday at the Rebel Entertainment Complex is sold out. If you want to go, you better have a good friend who's got some tickets extra, or you're watching it on pay-per-view. That said, one other note, tomorrow, Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, we're going to have another media teleconference. The hardcore legend, Tommy Dreamer, will be right here on the Impact Wrestling Media Teleconference. That said, let me open up his phone and welcome in the reigning, defending Impact World Champion, AA, Austin Aries. How you doing, Austin?
Hey, Double. Double A is Arn Anderson, forever and always. Go Horsemen. Yeah, what's going on? How are we doing, Ross?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Enjoying another beautiful day out here in Las Vegas, out by the pool, sipping on a little vegan protein shake.
114, 118 degrees. What do you got?
Yeah, I think about one. Yeah, but it was 116 last I checked. But I'm in the shade. It's a dry heat, so it's not so bad.
Yeah, it's
that's what they tell you anyway, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So let's get right to it. Slammiversary. You're putting the title on the line against Moose. Your thoughts?
A man called Moose, Ross. It's a man called Moose because there's been some confusion. I had Peter calling me in the Humane League, and they were afraid I was actually going to beat up an actual moose on Sunday. And so, plus I didn't want any viewers, to feel like we're doing some kind of bait and switch, and they tune in, they think I'm going to be wrestling an actual live moose. Then all of a sudden, the man called Moose comes out, and they're disappointed, and they feel like they want their money back. Listen, I'm excited for this matchup coming up. Moose, in his mind, feels like he's ready, feels like he's worked his whole life for this. I disagree, and I think this is going to be a good learning experience for a man called Moose to see just how close or how far away he is to actually being the man, or Mr. Impact Wrestling, as he likes to call himself, or the world champion.
All right, well, that's it. I do have two other questions, and we'll get to the media questions. First, got to ask you about the size and weight disadvantage you carry into this match.
Yeah. Is it a disadvantage or is it an advantage? I guess it depends on the perspective. He carries a lot of weight. He's carrying a lot of excess weight. I've actually realizing that I wouldn't be able to overpower him. I've actually leaned down a little bit for this fight. I'm probably the leanest I've been, which is actually a strategy that I think is going to work in my advantage because I'm going to work on my stamina first of all. The longer the match goes, more to my advantage. But he's an athlete. He likes to be athletic. He likes to try to do stuff that a lot of smaller guys do. He kind of prides himself on that. But again, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I think on Sunday he's going to make a mistake. And again, I'm a little quicker. I feel a little more agile, a little more explosive than I have in a while. And I think that's going to play to my advantage. And then we can talk about the physical advantages or disadvantages. But again, he's about 4 years into this, and I'm 18 years into this, and you can't substitute experience.
All right. Well, one final question I do want to ask. You did have a tweet about it yesterday. Curtis Granderson from the Toronto Blue Jays will serve as the special title holder for that championship belt during your match. Your thoughts?
I think, as I said yesterday, just make sure he washes his hands. Any pine tar on my title belt while he's holding it. And, if he needs any references on how to handle himself and what not to do, what to do and what not to do, he can just take a look at what happened to D'Angelo Williams. So as long as he stays in his lane and just minds his own business and holds that title up nice and high and hands it back to me at the appropriate time, everything should be fine.
And make sure it's properly shined.
Of course.
Alrighty. Hey, Double with
that, Ross. Make sure your head's properly shined.
Yeah, well, I do that every day, so we're good on that.
Shine that up. Make sure you shine that up for the pay-per-view. It looks nice and pay-per-view ready.
Hey, but I will, just for you. That said, we will open it up for media questions at this point. Media *6 to get in queue. We ask, please identify yourself and your media outlet, and please only one question at a time for a double. The world.
Yeah, make it good. Make it a good one.
Q&A session has started. To ask your question, please press *6.
Hey, Double, I can tell you this is probably the largest list of people in queue I've ever seen. Probably shouldn't be surprised. It is the world champion.
Follow that, Tommy Dreamer.
All right, I'll give you the first choice. You want to go? You want to stay domestic, or you want to go international for that first question?
Let's go. Let's throw it international. Why not? I'm a citizen of the earth.
Hello, Austin. Stephanie for Steelchair Magazine in UK. How are you?
Hello, Stephanie. I hope the sun's shining for you today. What's going on?
Oh, the sun is beautiful here in France, and thank
Wonderful.
you for asking. There was something striking in the promos you did for Slammiversary when you said wrestling is a destiny. It's not second choice; it's the first choice. Do you think that there's no second chance, no possibility for someone that is not from the business to come into?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think there's been a lot of successful people who have come from different backgrounds and then come into wrestling. But if we're trying to use it as a comparison, my passion has always been professional wrestling. I never had anything else in my life that I had passion for, like professional wrestling. So when he's trying to sit there and sell himself on his passion or call himself Mr. Impact Wrestling, I have to remind him that, well, his first passion was football before it was wrestling. Mine's always been wrestling my whole life. I've dedicated my whole life to this. So that's the difference. It's just comparison. Does that not mean that he can't be successful in his own way or someday be a world champion? Absolutely. It's just not going to happen at Slammiversary. It's not going to happen at my expense.
Hey, Austin, Sean of Fightful.com here. You've been involved in Impact Wrestling through a few different regimes. How would you compare those? And also, do you still have the bowling trophy you won in the Paparazzi Championship Series?
You know what? To answer that, I don't. And I'm a little upset with that. That was actually, we had about a 2-year investigation into the theft of that. And I have my inklings of who took it. I'm not going to say it here today. I'm not going to say it out loud who I think it was.
Probably Sanjay.
What's that?
Probably Sanjay.
Well, I think it was Jay Lethal. And we're not going to make any references to why I think it's Jay Lethal. But, guy's got some sticky fingers. No, in all good fun, I don't know what happened to that trophy. But that would be displayed proudly if I did have it. As far as the whole the regime thing, yeah, man, I've really been through all different incarnations in my time with TNA or now Impact Wrestling. I think this time is to me feels completely different. there's just a different energy and a different thought process and a different foundation that's being laid as far as, again, what's being done behind the scenes, behind the curtain, how talent's being, not only just contracted, but then, the communication levels, the amount of collaboration that's going on, not only within the company, but then with other companies. So for me, again, I've been at odds with the company over my course of my career. I don't think that's a big secret. But I think the difference now why I'm back is because, all maybe the people or the ideals that I had issue with are no longer there and attached to this. So I say that when people go, oh, it's the same old TNA, LOL or whatever. And I know it will take time, but I think right now we're showing people with the product and then also with what's going on in the locker room that this is really a different Impact Wrestling, and people should give it a chance and see if it might be something that they enjoy watching again.
Thank you.
This is Ian Carey with SEScoops.com. Hi, Austin. In a video posted to Impact's YouTube page recently, you said you returned to the company because you felt Impact needed you. It's now been 6-7 months since you've been back. What effect do you feel you've been able to have on Impact Wrestling so far?
I think at the very least, I've been able to be a bit of a stabilizing force. I think I'm someone who is a familiar face that for the fans who have followed this company for a long time, they can have some comfort in knowing. I've been successful here for parts of my career. So from a standpoint, they were able to kind of bring a marquee player back into the fold, which every company needs those guys in top positions to then help elevate the next group of guys. And so for me, I'm able to come in here now and be in a top position. I have that respect from the fans, the long-term fans, and then also from fans of other places of professional wrestling, because I've really branched out throughout my career and been grateful and fortunate to wrestle almost everywhere I've wanted to ever wrestle. So I bring that to the table here. And now, again, with having those top guys in place as that foundation, it then allows you to start building up the second and the third tiers of men and women. So, I think right now I've enjoyed my time here. I think we're laying down a good foundation for success in the future.
Great. Well, best of luck on Sunday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Austin. This is Viju from Sportskira in India. My question is, Rich Swann followed a pretty similar journey to yours before he arrived at Impact Wrestling. What's your take on his arrival, and what do you think the future holds for him? Thank you.
I love Rich Swann, and it's good to see him. Good to see him back in the wrestling ring first and foremost as a fan. But it's good, it's good to see him with a smile back on his face. It's good to see him have a support system around him that believes in him and wants to see him shine. And he's just so talented, and he's really still, I joke, but still a kid, in a lot of ways. And he's going through a lot of growth in the last few years, and now he's in a platform that's allowed him to go out there and show just how talented he is. And so again, you're adding another marquee guy with just A-level talent into a mix of talented roster to begin with, and that's a huge coup for Impact Wrestling.
Hi, this is Paul Barone from Two-Faced Wrestling. I wanted to ask you about kind of the crossover between promotions. Various promotions are getting into the ring with each other and maybe bridging the gap between Impact and Ring of Honor and things like that. What your thought process is with that and why it's important for wrestling?
I just think, technology changes the medium. And technology's kind of changed wrestling. There's been all these different time periods. When I first broke in, we were still trying to, sell VHS tapes, and that went to DVDs. Now that went to iPay-per-views. Now you're going to streaming services. With all those changes in technology, you have to kind of re-examine the way you do business, with talent and then, promotion. And I think right now you're seeing the value that there's this really strong and vibrant pro wrestling scene outside of the WWE bubble that can support guys going and traveling and living out their dreams and having great careers, and fans showing up, at arenas all over the world to support that, and then also fans from all over the world be able to watch it because of all these platforms that are now available. So you're seeing value in companies working together and creating unique and exciting ideas and opportunities and matchups and storylines that maybe historically we wouldn't have thought were possible. And I think that's cool. And it's given some power back to the talent a little bit, and even the playing field as far as the more places there are to go make good money and work, the better it is for everybody involved. And that's kind of the case right now, and it's beautiful.
Austin, we're going to go to a question from External Shockwave, who asked, what are your thoughts on the current design of the world title belt? How does it stack up to the past versions of the belt?
I like it. I think what I like about it, and this is always a concern of mine, is it's not too big. Because when you're carrying around multiple belts, as I often do, some of these ones, like the old TNA World Heavyweight title, was kind of big and bulky and kind of a pain to carry around. So I like this one's a little more sleek. My only complaint is it doesn't have a nameplate for me. My name should be on the damn thing. So that's the only fail of the design. Other than that, I give it a B+.
Hello, Austin. This is Aaron Barble from Wrestling Inc. How are you doing today?
Hello, Aaron. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Great to hear. You are one of the great success stories of people who have left WWE and found a lot of success elsewhere. Who else do you think that is still over there on that roster do you think would be a good fit for Impact Wrestling?
Listen, there's a number of, I'm sure, men and women over there who feel they're in a position, or maybe they've been spinning their wheels or not maybe getting the opportunities that they feel they've earned, that are immensely talented. And I'm not going to name names, but, I think that anyone in that position who wants to bet on themselves, Impact Wrestling provides at least a platform that's not going to tie you down and lock you in, but give you the opportunity to actually go and prove that, and then go and do that also independently across the world. And so, it's a unique opportunity. And, listen, there's a lot. They have a huge roster, and there's a lot of talent on there that there's only so many spots and so many hours of television. So, I'm sure that there's people who feel like maybe they're left out or not getting the shots they want. And, if they find themselves free and clear, it's cool that there's a nice, vibrant professional landscape right now for people to go out and apply their craft.
Hey, champ, Brian Bowman from thegorillaposition.com. In the past, when you've done you've talked about a variety of important topics outside of wrestling, like nutrition and consumerism. You're obviously very passionate and well-rounded in your arguments. After wrestling is over, have you ever considered pursuing a career in politics?
Not politics, because to me, politics is. I think that you can make impact in other places. To me, at a certain point, politics becomes like the Truman Show, right? Like you're not in on it, everyone else is, and it's set up for perpetual failure. But to continually reward the people that are pulling the strings and lining their pockets. You can do things. You can do things at other levels, advocacy. Set up nonprofits, which is something that I'm looking into here with a friend of mine who's been doing that, helping people, helping homeless and veterans and things of that sort. Obviously, me going out there and doing my piece of speaking and talking about plant-based diet and the importance of reducing the meat and dairy industry, which people don't realize how destructive it is, not just to us as humans for consuming, but to the environment as a whole. And that's not even going into the consciousness of that we're okay with slaughtering billions of animals every year and turning a blind eye to it for a cheeseburger. I think there's ways you can get that message out there. I don't know that politics is the best vehicle, because then you have to swim with the sharks. And, I think I can be more effective not swimming with the sharks, because I don't want to have to resort to the same tactics that they do to get ahead. And that's my career's followed that arc, and I think that my post-wrestling career would probably follow that same mindset.
Austin, we're going to follow that up with kind of a two-part question off of what you were just talking about. Part of it from Lady Tuca and the other part from Jeremiah Babcock. They want to know, what is your favorite vegan food? And then, do you just carry bananas around with you all the time?
Yes. I usually have bananas on me at all times, which now is now it's almost like people make sure I have bananas. Like fans will make sure they bring bananas to make sure that I'm always stocked up, which I do appreciate. So, the banana thing is a phenomenon all to itself. But my favorite food has always been pizza, and that hasn't really changed. And again, we're in a place in time now. And again, I'm lucky to live in a country that allows me to go eat all sorts of cool foods that taste like the foods I used to grow up eating, like pizza, and they make great plant-based alternatives, vegan pizzas, vegan cheeses made of nut milks and all sorts of different things. And so I love pizza. I love pizza, and I love bananas, and I love pie for dessert. Always love pie.
Hi, Austin. It's Morgan Richards here from Radio Cardiff. How's it going?
It's going well, thank you.
Good. So what I want to ask you about is, of course, the first night you returned to Impact Wrestling, you won the title. The same time, you really go into different promotions, beating their champions and just collecting belts, adding to that huge package. But for you, what does a really Impact World Championship mean to you, and why is it so special?
Well, I think it was the thing that really completed my impressive package. And I was having some success. Again, World Series Wrestling in Australia. I can't say enough good things about what they're doing there and what they're building there and their vision. And to be a part of that and to kind of be the champion in the face of that and help that grow was great. Doing that again in England with IPW UK and Defiant at the same time, those companies working together, like that was a cool thing. But then with the Impact World title, it just kind of cemented it and took it to this next level because I still think the Impact World title has value. The lineage, if you look at the people who've held it, if you look at the talent and the history of it, it's still one of the most important titles in professional wrestling. And so, for me to be able to come back and accomplish that on top of everything else I was doing, it just kind of brought it all together, and it kind of became a thing. And this whole belt collector thing really took its shape of its own from there. And for me also to come back and be trusted as one of the guys to be responsible for helping bring this company back to where it wants to be. Also is again a position that I appreciate, but I take very seriously, and I want to deliver.
Great, cheers, Austin.
Thank you.
Hi there, Austin. It's Adam from the Impact Lounge and V2 Wrestling here. How are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you in the UK in a couple of weeks. My question is, obviously, you're in the main event, the champion, going into the biggest marquee event for Impact this weekend. Do you have anything lined up special for your entrance, perhaps the return of the cape?
I've been kicking some ideas around. The cape's here, the fuzzy jacket's here. I've got a string bikini, just like little banana hammocks I've been thinking about. But I don't know. We'll see. But then sometimes it's good to just go out there and treat it like just another day at the office, just another game, just because sometimes, and I wonder if this is going to happen to Moose because I've been hearing some rumblings of all this theatrics that he wants to pull out, and he wants to. This is the biggest moment of his career. He's going to make this so big in his head. He's going to get so amped up and so hyped up that the match is going to be over before it even starts. He's going to be so in his head and so amped up instead of just business as usual. And I'm going to go in there and just take care of business as usual. So you know what? My entrance might just be business as usual, which means I'm going to walk out the curtain. I'm going to look through the crowd, which is going to be sold out now. You're welcome. I'm going to look through that crowd, the sold-out crowd. I'm going to look at them all with disdain and contempt. I'm going to saunter down to the ring with confidence because I'm the belt collector. I'm the world champion. I'm going to get in the ring. I'm going to beat him. Just another day at the office.
Fantastic. Good luck on Sunday, and looking forward to seeing you in the UK.
Appreciate it. I've got skill, so hopefully I won't need the luck.
Hi, Austin. It's Chris Lapp from the Broken but Glorious Wrestling Podcast. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, thanks.
So the British wrestling scene's booming at the moment, and you've been part of it with your recent runs of IPW and Defiance. So I was wondering, who are some of the guys from the British scene you'd like to wrestle? You haven't had a chance to yet.
You know, the one guy I haven't really had a chance to get in the ring with is Zack Sabre Jr. You know, and whether that's, going against him or tagging with him, we'd be a pretty lethal vegan tag team, I would say. And so that's a guy that, I've had, I've been on shows with now a number of times. We've had great conversations. He's a really bright fella. He's got some depth to him, which I appreciate. So that's the guy off the top of my head that I go, I'd like to get in the ring with him and tangle it up. And then a guy who I've already been in the ring with, and another fellow vegan, and Pete Dunne, obviously, was a guy who, we had a great match and a lot of buzz surrounding that match. And if we ever got the chance to do it again, I'd always look forward to that. So this is just two guys off the top of my head that, one I haven't and one that I have that I wouldn't mind doing it again.
Hey, Austin, it's James Walsh from the Wrestling Epicenter. How you doing today?
Good, James. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Good to talk to you. Are you getting tired of everybody asking how you're doing?
Yeah, everybody, I'm doing wonderful. Okay, I'm sitting out here. I'm sitting in the sun. I'm enjoying my afternoon. So we just go right to the question, and I'll assume everyone's doing wonderful too.
So as a longtime fan of Impact Wrestling, one of the things us fans have always said is they got to get out of the Impact Zone. And as a longtime fan of wrestling in general, you could do that in places. You can have the Sportatorium where you play every week, and you know what, that's great. But sometimes the fans get complacent. I think that, though, the change of scenery that we've seen from Impact Wrestling has breathed new life into the product with a excited crowd that maybe isn't, overly familiar with you guys. Would you agree that having a new audience that you're playing in front of, a new live crowd, has breathed new life into the Impact Wrestling broadcast?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a no-brainer in a lot of ways, right? I mean, could you imagine being a band and going and playing the same venue in front of the same fans every week? Or, I mean,
you are in Vegas.
That's a lot. Like, you're right, but it's in front of the same people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't, and the problem was it wasn't. It was either a mixture of the same people who'd been there and who no longer really got excited, as you said, to be there, or people who really had no interest in being there to begin with because they weren't really there for that. So I think that, listen, you got to take the show on the road, but you also have to have a sound game plan to do that. And it doesn't have to be in front of, 10,000 people, 5,000 people, even 1,000 people. You can put 600 to 800 people right now in the right building. And if you look historically at some of the best TV wrestling we've ever watched, or I watched growing up, it wasn't thousands of people. But if you put the right environment in there and create the right atmosphere, it's always going to add to the experience, not just for the aesthetics of how it looks on television, but for the actual environment in the room. And that translates to the actual performers because they're now getting energy fed back to them that we're exporting it, and we get it fed back to us so that we can even ramp it up that much more. And that's what I'm excited for on Sunday because we're sold out. I've seen this venue. It's an entertainment complex. They've got music and live music and stuff in there regularly. It's a really cool, unique look, and I think it's going to create this really awesome atmosphere. And you're going to have a sold out crowd, people who paid their hard-earned money to be there and to enjoy themselves, and for 3 hours forget about whatever else is going on and just have a good time watching some pro wrestling. And that's going to translate to hopefully everyone who's watching at home on pay-per-view. And then we're going to go out there, we're going to tear it down, we're going to feed off that, and we're going to blow the roof off the place.
Can't wait for it. Thank you, man. Have a great night.
You got it. Thank you.
So we'll go to a question that's actually come in a couple times, one from Rocco and from Bisco. They want to know, will the Brewers win the National League Central this year?
It's tough. They're one of the toughest divisions. And I mean, if you look on paper, the Chicago Cubs would look to be the more talented team. I've had a lot of fun watching the Brewers this year. I think David Stearns has done a hell of a job turning them around in just a couple of years. They've got a lot of talent. They've found in all sorts of different ways. Jesus Aguilar was a waiver pickup. Guy could be the next David Ortiz if you look at it from a career standpoint, trajectory standpoint. They're a fun team to watch. They've got depth. They maybe don't have that high-end, all-star type of MVP candidate, in the pitching staff that maybe those teams like the Cubs have. It's going to be tough. Right now they're in it. They're in the position they want to be. It's a long second half. We'll see if they make some moves at the trade deadline. They've got a good farm system to make a couple moves to shore up some areas. And, I'm a baseball guy. I grew up playing baseball. Wasn't my, I didn't go to play professionally like Moose did with the NFL. Unfortunately, 5'9" left-handed pitchers who only top out in the mid to high 80s don't always get scouts' attention. Although looking at it now, I could have been like Jamie Moyer or Jesse Orozco, I suppose, and been just a loogie out of the bullpen. Who knows? Actually, I threw out the first pitch here just the other day for an independent game in Indiana, actually. And, man, I had some good movement on the fastball with the two-seamer. It's made me start thinking about maybe looking for some independent league and maybe getting back into baseball. Maybe Moose has inspired me to be a two-sport athlete once again. Hell, the Miz just won the MVP for the softball game, World Series, or the All-Star game.
Hey, Austin, this is Carl with the J&K podcast, powered by the Roar Network up in Canada here. Question we have for you. Pardon me?
Okay. Up in Canada, eh?
Okay. That's good, eh?
Thanks for joining me, eh? Yeah, eh?
No problem, eh? By the time you leave Toronto with your belt, you're going to be saying, eh, just like everybody else.
Yeah, it's a good possibility.
So everything that you do, you exude confidence, whether it's in the ring, whether it's in interviews, whether it's even on a media press conference like this. Myself, before I got out of active competition, I used to have myself some superstitions. I would always listen to Korn, the band Korn, as well as I would always wear the same pair of socks. Do you have any superstitions of your own? Or do you know of any oddball ones from other workers?
Well, I appreciate that you clarified that you listen to the band Korn as opposed to just kind of like sitting there listening to, an ear of corn or a bowl of corn kernels, As far as superstitions go, I mean, I don't know that I have superstitions, but I think like for me, the sunglasses thing, like I always have a pair of sunglasses with me. Because I never know when I have to be in costume, But yeah, I wear my sunglasses a lot. Maybe that's a superstition, but no, I don't really have too many. When I was younger, I used to not step on cracks, and as far as other superstitions, I'm trying to think. There was a guy up that I trained with early in Minnesota, and he just retired a year or so ago. Good fella named the Playboy Pete Huge. And Pete Huge wore the very same pair of boxer shorts from his first match. And he wore them every match. And it was probably, I want to say, 12, 15 years until they're literally just a waistband with some tattered, remains of what used to be boxer shorts. But he wore them every match, and even to the point to where they were really no longer useful. So that's one that I do recall.
Awesome, thank you.
And his finishing move was the G spot, which was like the X Factor, but it was the G spot. It was great. He hit you with the G spot. Playboy Pete Huge, give you a shout out up in Minnesota. G spot, boot to the stomach, DDT.
Also, I think a perfect segue off that question would be a question we got from Jim V. Is there anything you do on show day or pre-match backstage to hype yourself up for going to the ring?
I don't try to get hyped up. I try to calm my mind, try to calm my breathing, because I think that if you get yourself hyped up, you're gonna get in the ring. You're gonna already be blown up and not have your wind. So I try to do a little bit of a little vinyasa flow, get a little yoga in there, get a little good stretch, get my breathing regulated. Say some positive affirmations, and just get myself mentally ready. But then when I step out the curtain, it's funny. My demeanor from literally this piece of cloth, right? This curtain. My demeanor from the back as I'm getting myself calm and mentally ready. But the minute I step out of that curtain, like the whole demeanor changes, and it's game time, and then I'm ready to go. But I don't want to get myself hyped up. I want to get myself calm and focused, and then when I step out of that curtain, it's showtime.
Hi, this is Brian from the High Spot Podcast, highspotpodcast.com. Thank you so much for the time, Mr. Aries. What I wanted to ask you is, with your tremendous accomplishments that you've had in your career, and there are quite many, you're becoming a gold collector, basically collecting gold everywhere you go. Now, with all the events of cross promotions and promotions helping each other out, which is a thing of the times now with professional wrestling, with all the events and the outcome of what will happen between Cody and Nick Aldis, is the NWA World Title something you might want to pursue in the near future?
I have the utmost respect for the NWA World Title. I grew up during that time period, and that was really the wrestling I fell in love with. So any opportunity to have a shot at that or to be a part of cross promoting something would obviously be of interest to me. I think it'd be of interest to wrestling fans. Obviously the timing has to be right. Obviously All In is going to be a huge event. I'll be in town that day, so who knows what could happen. But right now there's a lot of exciting possibilities when you look at the landscape of wrestling. Jay Lethal now being the Ring of Honor World Champion, he obviously has some history with Impact Wrestling. Obviously, the two companies, have been doing some at least, working together or at least, allowing some freedoms for that to happen. So, you got the Jericho Cruise coming up, and Impact's involvement in that, along with Ring of Honor. It's creating a really unique time and landscape to where really, literally anything can happen. And so with the NWA also in that fold, I think for them, that match is a huge opportunity for them to kind of step up on a huge platform and spotlight, and hopefully they can use that momentum to continue to rebuild the NWA brand, and they can become a force once again in professional wrestling.
Plus, that title would look great around your waist or shoulders, sir.
It would. I mean, it would look beautiful. It really would. And I would certainly I would give it premium spot in my bag. It would get like a premium position, because not every belt gets got like 6 in there. Not everyone can have the comfy spot in the bag. Some get crammed in there. I definitely would give the NWA title a upgraded spot in my bag in the travels, first class, all the way.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.
Hi, Myron from the Tapped Out Podcast here. I just recently started a low-carb diet, and I'm getting tired of eating so much meat. Are there good vegan options for that?
For a low-carb diet?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know, because I love carbs, and your brain function is primarily fueled by carbohydrates. So I don't like to starve my brain. As far as and then it depends. Like, not all carbohydrates are made the same. So, like, obviously sugars as a carbohydrate might be something that I certainly am mindful of and try to stay away from excess processed sugars or all the different forms it comes in. But carbohydrates, as far as actual fruits and vegetables, or even things like lentils, which have a lot of carbohydrates, but a lot of it's fiber. So it's not really effective carbohydrates. So things like that. But I think that again, vegetables, you can eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of greens or whatever your favorite vegetables are, and have it be relatively low in the carbohydrates. The fruits, obviously, with the sugars, not so much. But I would say, don't be too afraid of the carbohydrates. They're not the big evil, and protein isn't also somehow some magical calorie that only puts on lean mass. I know this has been perpetuated by the kind of corporate machine to make money, but I think a balanced diet that has the appropriate amounts of fats, carbohydrates, and protein, and then eating consistent meals, I think is always, for a longevity standpoint, going to be your best bet.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You got it. Yes, sir.
Hi, champ. Thank you for your time. This is Brian Keith from the Average Marks Podcast, powered by the Roar Network. I would like to know, what does your diet look like heading into a championship bout? What are you eating more of? What are you eating less of?
Oh, man. So it's awesome, because I've had, I don't always have a full week, at home. And so I've had a full week at home leading up to this. So I've been able to be a little more on point. I do have a sponsorship deal with Trifecta Foods. And they send me great vegan meals every week that if especially from a time standpoint, if I don't have time to cook, there's, good things. Again, beans and rice, lentils, quinoa, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of nuts, and then just drinking plenty of fluids. I think, especially being out here in the heat, we're eating a lot of watermelon, drinking a lot of watermelon juice, and then just, the good old H2O. And we usually have our grill fired up. So we're usually throwing, just kind of grilling stuff throughout the day. And I like to work out, actually to get some pool workouts and do some workout outside. And, it's just about, again, consistency, and then just, really try to stay away from the really bad stuff and just try to kind of put the good stuff in your body.
Thanks, Champ.
You got it.
Hi, Austin. This is Cody from thesportster.com. You mentioned earlier how you leaned down a bit going into your match with Moose. I was just curious if you can discuss what changes you made to your workout routine.
I think I've been doing a little more cardiovascular work. Historically, I haven't done a lot of heavy cardio because, for me, keeping size on has always kind of been my challenge. So staying, keep my body weight up has usually been my challenge. With that, I've kind of stayed away from excess cardio. For this, I've just ramped it up. I've been, swimming 1,000 meters in my pool. I've been doing more yoga, doing more functional movement, and just more, I don't want to say CrossFit style training, but maybe pounding a little less weights and doing more functional movement, explosive movement, because for me right now, especially my age, putting on 5 or 10 pounds is going to also make me big, but being more flexible, more fluid, more quick in the ring will give me more an advantage, especially I think in this matchup. So, every matchup's different. And for a guy like Pentagon, for example, where I'm a little close to his size, where I feel like maybe if I put a little size on, I can neutralize maybe a little strength advantage he may or may not have. In this case, I'm not going to neutralize the strength advantage with Moose. So I might as well exploit the advantage I do have, which is quickness and endurance. And so why not take that to another level and use that to my advantage?
Great. Thank you.
You got it.
Hey, this is Ritu from Sportskira again. My question is, so when you first came to Impact Wrestling, you were a clear babyface. And over the course of time, you have become slightly heelish. I mean, culminating with the attack on D'Angelo Williams. Was this a conscious decision, or was this only done for this particular feud? Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't know. If you go back and listen, D'Angelo Williams is in my ring, and he starts calling me names. He calls me trash. He calls me Austin crybabies, which is almost clever, but not quite. So I don't know if what I did was heelish, to use your term. I just think this guy was stepping in my ring and disrespected me, and I had to show him exactly where he belonged and who he was talking to. When I first came into Impact Wrestling, of course, you want to come in, you want to get in everybody's good graces. You got that little honeymoon phase where everyone's trying to win each other over, and including me trying to win the fans over, right? Because I knew that would serve me best. But the reality of the situation is I've always worked best. When I have this edge to me, when I've got this chip on my shoulder, when I'm able to kind of let my true feelings out, so to speak, about certain people, whether that be the fans or the people I'm working with. Again, at the end of the day, we all have depth. No one's a good person every day. No one wakes up and is a bad person every day. Well, some people do, but everything's strategic. And right now, I'm in my comfort zone, and I think the results are showing that.
Austin, we'll go to a question from Ishan Kacker, who writes, because you are more experienced, do you feel you're more under pressure against Moose this Sunday? And if you lose, would this be the biggest upset of your career?
Good questions. Because obviously, as I've talked about this matchup, whether that's publicly or even privately, every way I look at the equation, I always add up to the result of me winning. But in that, it's almost as if there is an expectation that I should win. I am more experienced, and while he is physically dominant, it's not like I haven't been in the ring with men his size before and beaten men his size before. So I guess maybe in some ways, I guess maybe the pressure is on me. I guess I hadn't thought of it like that. because I expect myself to win, and a lot of people expect. So I guess in this situation, I have everything to lose and really nothing to gain, and that's really not a very enviable position to be in. And so therefore, if by some chance, and listen, at the end of the night, no matter how sound your strategy is, no matter how confident you are, no matter how hard you've trained, no matter who you've got in your corner or in your ear, on any night, in one moment, any man can be another man. Literally, it takes 3 seconds. Literally, it takes just slapping on the right submission at the right time in the right place, and it's done. And that's not lost on me. And he has all the tools and the skills to do that. So, yeah, and if it were to happen, I don't know if it would be an upset or not. Obviously, he finds himself in this position for a reason. Do I think it'd be the biggest upset of my career? I don't know. It's tough to say, but I'm not going to put that energy out there because I don't want to think about what happened. What would I call this if I lose? Because we don't want to put that energy out there. So we're just going to call it like it is. What's it going to be when I win? And that's just another day in the office. Business as usual. All's right in the world. We can continue to do the things that need to be done to make a better Impact Wrestling.
Stephanie for Future Magazine again. I'm not going to wish you an happy birthday like last time.
Well, it's not my birthday.
Yeah, but last time, yeah. You remember?
I do remember.
I had the chance to talk to Jimmy Jacobs not so long ago, and everything he was saying about you was awesome, incredible. He was praising you, saying how good you were. Would you say the same of him?
I mean, what the hell does he know? No. I have a ton of respect for Jimmy. He's, again, I think he's starting as 14, 15 years old. He's had a passion for this industry, and he's got a great mind for it. Again, he's not the biggest guy, but he's found a way to carve out a niche and make a career because he gets it. And he also, he's one of those guys, and I think this is the key to me when you're a producer, a director, an agent, a writer, whatever it is. When you're the boss, you have to know when to step in and put your hands on something and mold it and guide it and direct it, and then you have to know when to just step back and let the talent do what it does and let them create the magic. Because sometimes if you're always stepping on talent, you're killing the magic. And Jimmy's good at nurturing the magic and knowing when to step back. And I think really, and I say the same for Don when I've worked with him in these segments, I've been so lucky that since I've been back here, I've been really given so much freedom and leeway to really paint these pictures and these promos and these storylines and these ideas within the context of what needs to be done. And that's allowed me as a performer to have so much fun, more fun than I've been having ever, to feel invested in what I'm doing. And I think you come to work and you want to work hard and you want to creatively go out there and do things that are going to add to the value of the product. And so a guy like Jimmy who can help fill in some of the little details or create an idea, but then also step back and then let the talent create and do what it does. So yeah, he's one of those guys that he's just multifaceted. There's always a spot for Jimmy Jacobs in pro wrestling because there's so many different areas that he can be an asset.
Hey, Ryan Bowman from thegorillaposition.com. Austin, over the course of your career, would you say your current run right now as the belt collector has been you at your very best? And how do you think this stretch of your career will be viewed in terms of historical perspective? And thanks for your time today.
You got it. Listen, when people start talking about the best, everyone has a different opinion or a different taste. I'll say this. I feel like right now I'm having the most fun of my career. I feel like I'm having the most impact on the things that are important to me in the most areas, in a number of areas of my career. And I feel like from a performance standpoint, I'm as experienced as I've ever been, right? I mean, that's obviously. So I feel like I'm I'm performing at a high level right now, and obviously I'm not at my physical peak. I'm not. I haven't lost too many steps. I'm still, I still feel like I'm feeling good in the ring. I'm moving good in the ring, but I think mentally right now, there was a period there where you think you forgot everything or everything you thought you knew. You question, and then when you dial it back in and you start feeling it again, you start seeing it again. Right now, I feel it's at a high level and maybe at the highest level of my career. And really now I'm starting to look at, well, man, how much longer can I sustain this? Because, at a certain point, I had a certain number in my head as far as how many more years I could do this. And now that number, I mean, who knows? Could I do this for another decade? Could this be the start of an even greater stretch of success than I've even had for the first 18 years? I'm excited to see that possibility play out.
All right. Well, Austin, I know your time is precious, so we will wrap it up with that. As always, much appreciated. I know I can speak on behalf of all the media. We're very appreciative of the champ's time today. We will give you the floor for a final thought heading into Slammiversary on Sunday.
Final thoughts going into Sunday. Listen, it's sold out. We're in Toronto, Canada. There's going to be a room packed full of people who are excited to be there, who paid their money to be there, and that brings out the very best in the performers. And this is one of those nights that I think we're going to look back on, and this is going to be an important night in the direction of Impact Wrestling. And that's not just in the ring, but then also behind the scenes and what's going on. So I know I'm looking forward to my match with Moose. I can't imagine what an Impact Wrestling would look like with him as champion, and hopefully on the 23rd, none of us will have to see that as a reality. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not sure that he's willing to do whatever it takes. We'll find out on the 22nd when I take on Moose for the Impact World Championship. And if you're on the fence, if you've been hearing the buzz about Impact Wrestling, if you've been hearing people saying or people writing, you should really check it out. The product's a lot better. It's some of the best wrestling that's on TV every week. No, it really is different now. If you're on the fence and you're not sure, here's your chance. Put your money down, check us out, see what the buzz is about, see what the new Impact Wrestling is all about. I don't think you'll be disappointed.